Cool.
Yeah.
Microphone check 1, 2, 3. Are we working?
Well, it says it's recording, so
Seems like
we'll
it.
soon figure it out, won't we?
Seems like it.
Well, this video is just a mime, like a silent
Just like-
film. Yeah, captions underneath. Can you read as fast as you can watch?
You have to put captions for the whole thing now. God's sake. Ah! How's your week, Vince?
Long. Been good. Been flat out day today. Been a really good day actually though. Saw my new client who has MS for the first time. Had a really good session. It's kind of want to just seeing what you can do really and where to work from and such, which is kind of the way with MS, because in the early stages before you sort of learn how to manipulate the fatigue that comes in, and then good days and bad days, mental state can be foggy and stuff, you are just kind of at the mercy of what you come to. But we had a really good session.
Carry on.
Ooh.
Carry on.
I see.
That's better. Now we're in the middle.
I lean over like this now.
People don't know what's happening on the podcast.
No,
Basically,
they
I'm
can
just
see.
going to yeah, true.
And yeah, his wife came down, she left us to it. I said we had a really good session. She burst into tears. I gave her a hug, and it's like it kind of reaffirms why I do the stuff that I do.
Yeah, 100%.
Getting the client a PB and watching their eyes light up and watching them become a different person is absolutely fucking rewarding. But watching the look of hope appear on someone's face when they think that, finally they might have something that might just give them a little bit longer with the person that they love, and some of that is you can't really equate to it really. It's quite, it makes you feel warm and fuzzy, and you can ride on that for a long time, even when times are pretty crappy and bad, and, things that go right in training or business and stuff. If you know that you've kind of done that for somebody, you can kind of ride that wave till it breaks.
Absolutely.
Before we go any further, so had some feedback from the first podcast. Thank you for everybody that did give feedback. It was actually really quite well received, which is quite nice. Everybody thought it was awful and never want to hear us again.
Maybe it was, maybe they just didn't tell us.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, it could have just, we just got like one listener. Or two, because there was a bit of a mixed bag of feedback. So, I personally run on the pretense that if one person has asked a question, there must be others that feel the same way and want the same answer.
Sure.
Or if one person feels a certain way about the podcast, then others might. So, to clarify and give a better explanation, I think, than maybe what came out, and this is kind of the cool thing about being able to do this, we can come back and do bits.
Sure.
When I said before that by definition, if you're not losing weight, you're not in a calorie deficit. I'm going to explain a bit further, but first of all, that fact is still true. And when we say things on this podcast, it is in the nicest possible way, not to blow smoke up anybody's arse, but it's also not to make anybody feel bad. The last thing we want, and anybody who actually knows the two of us know that is actually the last thing we want, is to make anybody feel bad or feel like they failed or anything else like that. But at the same time, we're hopefully talking to a large audience, so we can't deliver our approach more tactfully to the one person, whereas, you may only ever watch this or listen to this podcast once, and anything we put in here, we have an obligation to make sure that it is as black and white as possible so you can understand it.
Yep.
But that being said, some people took it that and it's from every trainer as well. I did a video on this on my YouTube channel. So if I'll touch on it, but if you want a bit more in depth, if you go onto the VS Complete Fitness YouTube page, there's a video on calorie deficits that'll explain this. If you've been told that you are not in a calorie deficit because you're not losing weight, your trainer isn't wrong. But at the same time, when you tell them that you've tracked everything and you're still not losing weight, that doesn't necessarily make you a liar. And I think that's where the miscommunication comes in, because for more inexperienced or new trainers that are taking quite rightly the scientific principle that if you're not in a calorie deficit, you're not losing weight, what they don't understand is the means in which they calculated that deficit isn't infallible. It's a guideline starting principle. So when I give people calories, in any video I've done on how to set your calories, it's always been stated clearly that it is a guideline and you can come up or down on it. So, say for instance your trainer or your calculator or whatever you've used to calculate what you think your calories are for a deficit has said you're 1900 calories. and you are eating 1900 calories and you're not losing weight. That 1900 calories is not you in a deficit. So you aren't lying or eating secretly or eating the wrong foods. I mean, you might be, but if you're still equating for calories, it kind of doesn't matter. What that means is the number that you were using to determine your deficit is wrong. So that needs to change. It needs to come down. And if nothing else from this podcast today, if you never listened to anything else as well, you are always in the right. You have the duty, you have the power to question that number or to manipulate yourself to make it lower. Because the golden rule is, if you're not losing weight, you need to lower your calories. And it might actually just be, depending on where you're sitting with your weight, if you're just maintaining and nothing's ever going down, then you just need to drop it down a little bit. Like if you drop 50 grams of pasta out of your daily diet, you're dropping 180 calories. 50 grams of pasta is nothing. But then you think, if you drop 25 grams of pasta out, that's like 100 calories less a day. That could be just the tipping point you need. So it doesn't have to be drastic. You don't have to starve yourself. But to clarify on this one, when we say these statements, if you don't understand it or you feel that it's a personal attack, it's not. It would never be the case. But please question us on it so that maybe we can explain it better for you. Or as in, if one person feels that way, then there's got to be some other person. For everybody who listens to this podcast, if one person thinks it was a bit abrupt and a bit shit for me to say what I said, then other people are going to feel that way. And while I'm not apologising for what I said, because it is scientifically fact, what I now will be able to do is explain why I said what I said, and how maybe you feel attacked by it is because people in the past have probably turned around and said, well, you must be lying because I gave you deficit calories. It just turns out they were wrong. So trainer isn't necessarily wrong by saying, well, you're not in a deficit then because you're not losing weight. But at the same time, if you have tracked everything and are still not losing weight, you're not a liar. It just means that number was wrong and you just need to equate it. So there we go. So that was the recap from last time, because I just wanted to make sure that, and I like being asked and not called out, because being called out is just people slinging shit. But if you're like, look, I felt that was a really shit thing that you said, because I've been told this before and I was trying my hardest, that's fine. It just means we need to maybe reword next time what we said.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes what actually works for some people is not necessarily at first looking at their calories. Sometimes I find, or what I found with a few of my clients, is just taking little bits out of their diet and putting new things into there. So there's quite a lot of people that you ask them how many fruits and vegetables they have per day, and they could probably count it on one hand. Obviously I know you have to have your 5 a day, etc.
I was about to say, is that not?
No, but they're saying in terms of.
It's minimal, yeah. So
minimal,
it doesn't really equate in.
God damn it, Will! But yeah, obviously, let's say fit it in one hand. That's a better way to say it.
There we go.
So what I've tried to create with some people, and it really works at first, is they don't necessarily, obviously we don't advocate you eating whatever you want. That's definitely not what we're advocating here. But what I try and do is try and encourage them to eat something a little bit different. So, say, okay, so you've had porridge for breakfast, why don't you add some nuts with that? Or why don't you add some fruit with that? Or why don't you add something a little bit healthier? Okay, you have that as a snack. Why don't you have something a little bit different? Something a little bit more of a healthier alternative. So rather than taking, here are your calories, here's how many you need to have per day, sometimes I think what works quite well is saying, okay, let's change little bits in your diet slowly. They may be over for a few weeks. They may be staying over their calories for a few weeks. They might not find that they're actually losing that much weight at first. But what you're actually doing is you're slowly progressing that healthy lifestyle into what they're trying to achieve. And I think that's the main thing of what me and you try and do is not necessarily, we don't want it to be like a size 1 or a size, that's kind of extreme. That's the very extreme. We want to make sure that people are creating healthy lifestyles for themselves. So, if you take client A and they want to lose lots and lots of weight for their wedding, then 100% you're going to be like, okay, so here's the calories you need. This is the deficit that I need you to be in. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. But with most of the people that we find that we get here, that's not the case. Especially older generation of people, they are not necessarily here to, I want to lose this amount of weight. They want to be here for fitness related reasons, to feel healthier, happier. That's the reason why they're there. And I think it's really important to maybe slowly transition those little things into their diets.
Yeah, I think, you're completely right. And for a lot of people, they've never tracked calories before. So the whole process seems strange. Like, some people don't know what a macro is. Some people don't understand what protein is. But if you, like, I gave this advice today, and I said to this person, they come in, they were asking for a program change because they felt that it was going well, but they weren't losing weight, and they're throwing all this information out. And I was like, let's simplify this. What do you want right now? I want to lose weight. I said, fine. Well, it looks like you're moving around, you're active quite a lot. You're just eating too much. So I said, he was saying he tracked his calories, but it turns out he hadn't. But he goes, I'm eating 4 meals a day. I said, then eat 3. The simplest solution is always the best one. So if you've never tracked calories before diligently, but you're really good at knowing your portion size, then make your portion smaller. Take out a starch. So a rice, pasta, potatoes, I know more than that. There are far more starches.
Anyway, I've lost it as well.
Oats and things like that, right? Yeah. So you take those away, add more vegetables in, because you want fibrous vegetables over starchy vegetables if you're losing weight anyway. But the thing is, there is no one.
Grow them.
My man Will here with his major allotment goals.
Carry on, sorry.
Yeah. So it's one of there's more than one way to skin a cat. Right, so the thing is, as we've said, you'll hear this a lot through the podcast. Any diet, any method is designed around the principle of a calorie deficit. So what you package it up in, doesn't matter. The principle is still the same, and that's what we're trying to get through to everybody, is that whatever you choose to do is fine, and the reason it works is in a calorie deficit, but there are ways that are best individual to you. Now, everyone's knocking keto at the moment, and it really fucks me off a little bit, because it's like, it works. Because I found it worked, because I did keto for a long time, not last year, the year before. I was eating a lot of fats, by the way, and I was loving life. But I lost weight because I was in a calorie deficit. But what I found was that the keto diet really helped with my hunger issues that I get from being on low calorie diets. I don't like being hungry. I'm going to say it right now. Being hungry sucks. I hate it. I don't like dieting. I don't like being in a deficit, which is why now I've decided to just really stick out the strength, because I'm actually starting to fill out with muscle mass, and it's starting to change over a little bit, my body composition, because I'm pushing myself harder. Calories are about the same, whatever. But I don't like being in a deficit. So if I can avoid that, or at least avoid feeling hungry, because, I'm a dad and a partner, and I don't like being a dickhead to people, as good as I am at it. There are a few people that are like, well, you say you don't like it, but you're pretty fucking good at it. So I found keto as a really good method of doing that, because it's like a really slow sustaining energy source. Now, I will say that it didn't make me look as good at the end of it as when I controlled my carbs and up my activity levels a little bit to bring myself into a more deeper calorie deficit rather than restricting calories, as when I still had carbs in. My muscles looked fuller, I looked leaner. But if that works for you, it works for you. So intermittent fasting I was asked about today, if intermittent fasting is 5-2, 16-8, whatever, it's essentially skipping a meal. If you're doing the 16-8 principle, you're basically saying skip breakfast, don't eat till 12, finish at 8 in the evening. It's a calorie deficit. Now, you can, in fact, so that's the basic principle. Like, if you feel you're eating too much, don't eat breakfast. You cut one meal out, you cut calories out, you lose weight. Magic, no. What you can do, though, is so that's based around something called your circadian rhythm, which is your 12-hour digestive window from the first thing that goes into your body that isn't water. Right, so anything that isn't water, your body has to metabolize, even caffeine. So if you're fasting and you have a coffee, you're not fasting anymore, because your liver has to metabolize the caffeine, so therefore you're technically putting metabolic stress on the body. So it's super low calorie, so it at the end of the day, if you need to function with a coffee, Jesus Christ, do it. Like, fucking hell. Like, you can go as serious or as not as you want on things. But what you're doing is basically going from the moment something that enters your body that has to be metabolized, you have 12 hours of metabolic activity before the system starts shutting down, which is why most people find, they say they eat to a 12-hour window, but it's usually 14, 16 hours. Especially today, I've been up since 6 o'clock today. I'm not going to get home till 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I'm going to eat something probably when I get in. So that's well out of my window. But it doesn't really matter at the moment. But you can manipulate that how you want. And the key thing is with these type of diets and all of these, make them work for you. If you are in a calorie deficit but you like to have a glass of red wine in the evening, equate the red wine in. Don't cut it out because you won't stick to the diet. If you know that you're a night owl and you can go longer in the daytime without eating, but you have an active social life in the evening, and you'll find equating your calories for it, start your window much later. Because once you get used to it, you'll actually not feel hungry until you're ready to feel hungry. So with diets, with everything else, with, any method you choose is correct as long as you're in the deficit. So Will's method is perfect if you're new to everything and going, you know what, let's just work on, first of all, bringing your activity levels up.
Absolutely.
Which is mostly what most people need to do. The reason most people get overweight is because it's over a long period of time. You don't wake up the size of a house. If you did, you'd go to the fucking doctor. At least I hope you would. You should, because you're the size of a house. It's like Alice in Wonderland shit. Fits out the window. So when it comes to weight loss, most of the time it's because you started moving a little bit less, and maybe your food stayed the same, or you got comfortable in a relationship, or you're comfortable in your job, or your job changed and you ate a little bit more and a little bit more, a little bit here, a little bit there. Your job's more stressful, you like to have a drink in the evening, you're not equating for it. It's little micro changes over a long period of time, right? So what you have to do is the same thing in reverse. So if you've never thought about your weight before, never had to maybe, Will's approach that you just did, it's absolutely spot on. Start putting healthy things into your diet, start moving around a bit more, you'll start feeling better, and then when you feel a bit more clued up, we can take it to the next stage. But everyone wants to do things at 100,000 miles an hour, and it's the Amazon Prime sort of principle, isn't it? If you want something, it turns up tomorrow. It literally turns up tomorrow. And everybody's feeling like they have to promise that tomorrow now. And it's like, well, you didn't get the size you were. You didn't get the injury you got. You didn't get, unless it was an accident, obviously, but you didn't get the situation that you want to change now over the space of a day.
What do you think about that principle, though, in terms of people that have maybe been on the heavier side for maybe, say, 10, 20 years? Is it going to take longer for you to get it off than it would normally if you had, if you'd put on a little bit more?
Having been that person,
or does it take the same amount of time?
Who was pretty much, well, I'm still classed as overweight now, but for somebody who struggled with a lot of weight fluctuations from the off, like from as long as I can remember, having been picked on all the way through school for being overweight. When I hit college, I had a bit of a, I suppose testosterone spurt is the right word, because I was already pretty tall.
Yeah.
I started hitting the gym a bit, so I started burning off a lot of excess fat. Then it came on a little bit, and I yo-yo all the time. I do yo-yo all the time. I have to be incredibly diligent over the space of like 14 to 16 weeks to really drop down weight in a sensible manner. But the thing is, I don't think it takes as much time.
Okay.
It's harder if you've been overweight for a long time. It is harder.
Yeah.
And if you say it's not harder, it means you've never been in that situation, so you do need to back off a little bit.
Yeah.
But it won't take you as long. It's not an equal time thing. But it's like if you got overweight over the space of 5 years, it's probably because you weren't paying attention to it. Because as soon as you start paying attention to it, you start changing things about it. That's the thing, and that's the thing what people don't understand. They just go, I don't even know how it happened. Of course you didn't, because it happened so slowly.
Yeah.
It's the frog in water principle. If you put a frog into boiling water, it jumps out. If you put a frog in cold water and gradually heat it step by step, it will boil itself to death because it won't notice the temperature change. It just adapts to it. And you do the same thing when you get overweight. You notice a little bit of weight gain, it's all right. A little bit of weight gain, it's all right. A little bit of weight, it's all right. And slowly but surely, all of a sudden, you're like, holy shit, where the fuck has this all come from?
Yeah.
But once you're diligent in your approach, and this is the hard part because it's that consistency thing again. and kind of wanting it enough to stick it out. And this is the hard part, because you're not told how hard it is. And it is hard. It is so very hard. And especially if you don't have support from family and friends. If you don't have support from your environment. If you work in an office and everybody's always on a diet, and you choose not to be on a diet, you're the arsehole.
Yeah.
If you choose on a different diet than everybody, you're the arsehole. If you slip up a little bit, they'll make you feel bad about it. And it's bullshit, because you're all in the same fucking boat. But more so, it's hard to feel that way, to want to change something so desperately and not fully understand that it just takes time. Because we don't want it to take time. We want to go back to when we can remember not feeling the way we felt.
Yeah.
And it is so hard to, one, watch a loved one hate themselves, for a start, having been in that situation. Mm-hmm. It is hard to look at yourself in the mirror and be disgusted with what you see all the time, having personally been through that and still go through it now, though I'm learning to keep a cap on it because I've got kids, so it has forced me to be better with it, because I refuse to have a meltdown about how I feel in front of my kids. Me and my other half are very open with one another. I can tell her that I don't like the way I look, and she's very supportive of it, and that's wonderful. But you have got to get to a point where feeling the way you feel now is worse than the feeling of the process to get to where you want to be. Because feeling hungry, feeling like you can't live the way you used to live in, is horrible. You don't want to do it. The body doesn't want to do it. It wants to keep going the way it's going and have some magical fucking bullet that's going to do it. And if I say it now, and will confirm in verbal recognition that if we knew what the fucking magic bullet was, we would have given it to you by now.
Well, we'd be millionaires. Would be rich.
We'd be out of a job. If it was that easy, it would have come out by now, and we wouldn't have to be personal trainers, not for weight loss anyway.
No.
You know? And I have bought every fat burning pill before I became, even early as a PT, before I even got a bit more educated. So I've bought the fat burning pills, I've bought the fucking shakes, I've read the books, I've tried the diets, and they've all come down. By the way, fat burners don't work unless they're the illegal ones that bodybuilders use that are on steroids that literally burn your fat cells out of your body, by the way. They don't work. They're just selling that desperation, and having been that desperate up in the early phases of my career, because I felt so pressured because I didn't have a six-pack that nobody would fucking hire me as a trainer, hence why I never got into weight loss, that I bought all this shit. I've wasted my money and it doesn't work. And I can say that equivocally having done it, because I bought into it. And I wouldn't say I was stupid enough, because at the time I didn't know any better. And most of you that buy into these things have moments of weakness and a wallet in your hand, and someone has written this fucking wonderful post about how this tea, this pill, this diet, this, I don't know, fucking worm you put in your butt or whatever will help you lose loads of weight. By the way, tapeworms is a method that supermodels use to eat, and because tapeworms take nutrients out of the body, which is gross.
I didn't even realise that was a thing.
Yes, it is.
So basically they eat the eggs and then they let them...
Yes. Yep, they will purposely swallow a tapeworm egg, it grows in their gut, and that's how it keeps them slim. So you are being fooled left, right and centre, people, by people who are just hideously insecure and need to sell shit and are taking everything under their arms. And the other thing you have to understand as well, and this is another fucking scientific session today, isn't it?
Go ahead, mate. I'm enjoying it.
Brain's going off. Blah! Fat cells are storage units. They contain a little bit of protein or amino acids. They contain some lipids. They contain a little bit of fatty acids and things like that. So imagine you've got a room in your house and it's slowly filling up with crap. Or not crap, but you collect stuff, right?
You're a hoarder.
Yeah, right, hoarder. Or you have a hobby that requires lots of stuff, right? When your initial storage unit runs out, what do?
Well, you either find a new room to put your crap in, or you just leave it there.
You buy more storage.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
That's what he meant.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, well, another room analogy works. When you fill up one room, you have to find another room. But right, if we small it down a bit so it's kind of equatable, if you have a storage unit that has 3 drawers in it, and you fill up all those 3 drawers, you then have to buy another storage unit. Which is what your body does when you've exhausted all of the initial storage that it's got. You buy another storage unit. another storage unit, another storage, blah, 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 blah. These are your fat cells, right? When you burn calories or burn body fat, you empty the drawer, but you don't remove the storage unit. They lay dormant, just empty. Which is why, and I am literally living proof of this, that last summer I got down to 91 kilos, which is about a 10 kilo drop from where I started. I had an outline of an ab, Team 1 ab. And then you'd think, well, he's got very lean now, so he shouldn't put the weight back on very quickly. I can gain weight like that. Like, I'm talking fucking easy. Like, I get about 4 kilos of leeway before I start ballooning out again. That's it. That's all I've got. Because I have those storage units waiting to be filled up again. Now, what you'll see with people who, and the thing is, you can keep it off if you're diligent. That's the thing as well. Like, that's the yo-yo effect. Like, you buy into these diet principles and blah 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 blah. Weight Watchers, Slimming World, Slim Fast. It's all calorie deficit put up in a magical package, so you don't understand what happens, and it looks like wizardry. So you lose the weight. You haven't cleared the storage cells out, and then as soon as you come off that calorie deficit or calorie maintenance and think, oh, well, I should be able to eat what I want and, build muscle or whatever, you're just filling the storage boxes up again. Now, when people take fat burners that do work, which trust me, you don't want to take because they're fucking horrific things, they basically melt the cell walls of the fat cells at a molecular level to stabilize them when your body flushes them out through the lymphatic system, right? That's dangerous shit. You are disrupting cell membrane. And you also need fat cells anyway because they store important stuff. So that's how they get lean and how people that have been on steroids tend to stay lean afterwards. Because imagine for 20 years, you've been building fat cells to a certain degree. You're overweight, you're obese, or whatever. You get some proper top-end illegal fat burners, clenbuterol, tren, and all that kind of stuff. Steroids. And you literally strip them out of your body. You're basically at square one again. So that's the misleading part. This is why people who are already lean put on weight to sell their shred program and then 8 weeks go back to normal. It's because they're not doing what you're doing. They don't have all that storage set up. Some of them do it naturally. Some of them are just naturally lean. Some have been on steroids and whatever. But the principle's still the same. They've taken those storage units and they've just thrown them out the fucking window. And now they have no storage units. So they can't keep as much.
Yeah.
But you, on the other hand, royal you.
Well, think about the storage that I probably have. I probably have a very, very low storage because.
Yeah, actually, I'll tell you what. Put it in perspective. Tell Will, because I have waffled on for far long about this. You have the opposite problem. You can't put weight on.
Yes.
And by the way, this isn't a dig at anybody because there's lots of people out there that really wish they could put weight on. So you've heard my end about being chunkier and really finding it hard to lose weight and how it affects me mentally and stuff. We're going to be really honest and deep in this one because I think it will help you understand why we do what we're doing in this. But Will won't mind me saying because he's going to elaborate anyway. But I've personally tried to help you gain weight. We've taken a lot, and there's certain things that we've had to stop Will from doing because he burns too many calories. His metabolic rate is so high that it's actually dangerous for him to lose weight. He desperately is in a constant battle to try and gain weight. And I know that some of you are going to turn around and say, "Oh well, I wish I had that problem." You don't. You don't wish you had that problem because when you hear in a minute how much it has affected Will's health, you are going to realise that actually it works completely opposite ends of the spectrum. You can find it really hard to lose weight, but you can also find it dangerously hard to gain weight, and it does have a knock-on effect. So I'm going to open the floor to Will, and he's going to talk as long as he really wants to, because I've taken up like half an hour of this podcast already, basically.
That's all right.
I apologise.
That's all good. I've always struggled to put on weight. I was I've always been very, very lean when I was younger. Because I was very, very active, first off, I never ever stopped, etc., etc. And it's not that I don't have a good relationship with food either, because I do eat my food, But about 2 summers ago, obviously I'd been fluctuating in terms of my weight, staying fairly lean. My body normally stays between, the lowest I've ever gone is 5% body fat. I'm fluctuating around 7-8% now. So, I am on the upper end of where I have been before. But yeah, I've always always struggled to put on weight. About, was it 3 years ago? 3 years ago, I got to the point where my body couldn't really
you got
take
really
it
ill,
anymore.
didn't you?
Yeah,
Really ill.
had glandular fever. Totally knocked me out. I had about 4 months off work.
Which, just to cut in, was caused by the weight loss. That's the key thing when I say like the medical conditions. His body was burning through so much energy storage and body fat that he contracted glandular fever because his body was just so low on everything. And that's now why, if anybody will teach a spin but doesn't get on the bike.
Yeah.
Because we had to intervene, and you didn't want to get off the bike because you
Not
enjoyed
really, no.
teaching spin, but
Yeah.
it was too dangerous for him because it just caused too much metabolic adaptation in his body, and he started burning through calories again. So once he got over the glandular fever, we had to say like no more.
Yeah. And I still, to 3 years today, and to this day, I still don't do spin on my bike. Obviously, I'd love to. Like I said, I'd absolutely love to. But I need to target what I'm training. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
in terms of
If any calorie burn you're putting in has to go to what you want to do rather than frivolous things like teaching a class.
Absolutely. So when I did my marathons last year, I had to be really careful because in some of the times that I was running, when I was doing my 18, 19 miles on my upper mileage in the middle end of my program.
Will just to cut in, is a running coach and has a kick-ass run program and academy if you are interested. So do hit him up because he won't tell you about this, but I will tell you about this. So we're going to cut in right now. How do they get hold of you on that one?
Obviously just message me.
How do they do that?
Oh,
Where do they find you, Will?
They can do it on Instagram, they can do it on Facebook, they can get my number off of Facebook or whatever. What I'll do is on this...
Who are they looking for on Instagram and Facebook, Will?
Mapley_ the run coach is my Instagram.
There we go.
And Will Mapley PT is my Facebook one, soon to be changed to Mapley the Run Coach again. Obviously on both ones, so both people can find me. And yeah, just give me a message. There's lots of valuable content that's coming out in the next few weeks. Hopefully that's gonna help as many people as possible running. But yeah, I mean, that took a turn, didn't it? That took a turn. I was like, I didn't know what to say.
So anyway, back to you up your upper mileage.
Yeah, so the upper mileage that I was doing, I really had to focus on, getting those calories in straight after. Because looking at your watch, you'd look at your watch and think, okay, cool, I've done 2 hours and whatever it is. And then you look below and see your calories, and I've burned 2,000, nearly 3,000 calories in. I think my last run that I did, that was before I went into my taper phase for the last 4 weeks, reducing my mileage, when I got up to like 20, 22 miles, I think at one point I burnt nearly, 2,800 or 2,900. I've got it on my Instagram, I'll show you in a minute. And those kind of calories before my day even started, because I normally get up at about 8 o'clock, 7, sorry, I get up at 6, normally run at about 8, 9 o'clock on a Saturday, is not what I try and get, because 2-3 hours running, by the time you get back it's nearly midday anyway. But yeah, I mean, it is very, very difficult sometimes to keep weight. Sometimes when I don't, say, eat for a week, eat for a week. Didn't mean like that. When I don't
think
eat
anybody
properly,
feel bad then.
properly. When I don't eat properly for a week, I can lose. Probably nearly a kilo. I probably can lose nearly a kilo in a week.
Yeah, which again doesn't sound like much to us bigger people. I would love to lose a kilo in a week. In fact, I can if I'm fucking diligent with it. But when you teeter on the edge of like system failure, which is basically what you had.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's autoimmune, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, you every kilo counts. So for the people that are on Will's end of the spectrum, we do completely understand that as well. And that for a lot of you, my mum actually had a friend that was just deteriorating in front of her. She physically, she would eat like a horse. She would graze all day long, and she kept losing weight because she had a metabolic problem.
Yeah.
So for some, and the thing is, it's actually quite hard to eat more than your body wants to put in. Like for people that are on the heavier side, we are able to eat more because we probably taught ourselves how to do it. I have no problem eating 4,000, 5,000 calories a day. I can do it. I did it when we did the £1 Million Challenge last year.
Yeah, you were. Weren't you?
I was hammering down 5,000 calories a day because I was burning 1,000 calories in an hour lifting weights, And then the metabolic adaptation from that kept me, I was constantly starving. But even then, that was hard. Sometimes you just think, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. You're just finding reasons to eat.
Yeah.
And it sucks. But when you're smaller, so therefore your calorie intake is actually quite low anyway, but you're burning lots, to try and force that amount of food into your body is really fucking hard work. And I mean, as to say, to put it in perspective, we were forcing Will to go and buy more food. And he was just like, I don't want to eat. He's like almost retching as he's eating it. But it's like, we had to make sure he ate it, because if he didn't, it was just going to go bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And this is the side you're not really told about, because everybody who... And we're going to touch on eating disorders later on at another date, because it is something I think needs to be explained in a better deal to take away the stigma from it, because so many people get judged by it as well. And people get judged for being overweight as well. Like, you're not a fat, lazy arsehole if you're obese. You're not, because sometimes, first of all, nobody knows what the fuck anybody went through. Like, I mean, so disordered eating, to sort of clarify on that one, from a behavioural therapy point of view, is for some reason along your journey, food became an outlet.
Yeah.
It was your parents, if you were upset and you wanted to talk, would make sure there was a cake on the table. Or we'll just get a chocolate bar and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So instantly you assume problem solving with food. If you are told, if you don't eat your dinner and your parents take offence, you now can't ever leave your plate empty, half empty.
Yeah.
If you, as a child, are told when you're bored, I'll just go and have a chocolate bar or a bag of crisps, you're associating food with solving boredom. There are so many behavioural triggers that people don't realise are causing them to eat. I mean, when you actually question them, they understand that it's the wrong thing to do, but then you go on autopilot again. So for a lot of the time, most people that are overweight aren't fat, lazy assholes. And the funniest thing is that the only people that call them that are fucking idiots. And I'll say it, like, I don't care, come at me. But
come at me.
It's like you have no idea what that person got to be in that situation. And there is a small population of people that just don't give a shit about their bodies, or they don't know any better. And either way, doesn't even make it worse or better. Some people just don't know how to look after themselves because they were never shown. They don't understand what nutrition is. It's easy convenience. They don't know how to cook. They need to get something in them. That tastes nice. That's highly palatable. Happy days, yum. So for the most part, most people that are obese didn't intentionally get there. They don't want to be there. They probably don't actually know how they got there or how to get out of it. And every time someone's just assuming that that person's lazy and an arsehole, it's like, well, they're not. And it's not easy to, we'll just lose weight. I'll just eat less, move more. Fuck you, eat less, move more, because it's like you really think people haven't tried that. It's like, it's finding, a lot of it's going a bit deeper, which is why I did behavioural therapy and why mine and your approach is very different. Because it's like, I'm not interested in weight loss until I figured out why you got to where you were in the first place. Because then we can reverse engineer that and get away from it. It's all well and good, otherwise I might as well just sell programs.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Go on Instagram, buy a program. It costs you 50 quid and you won't fucking understand it, but it might work.
Yeah.
But if you haven't figured out these triggers first, you're always going to circle back. If you stressed, if your stress response is to go and eat something because it makes you feel better because you want that dopamine hit, you've actually got to learn how to manage your stress, not eat less.
What would you say is the best way to get fruits and vegetables in? Because and this sounds maybe a shot in the dark. This is me personally, but I'm sure you'll have a totally different perspective to me. But for me, the most when I've eaten fruit and vegetables the most was last year, and the reason why because I grew it. Now I know obviously people don't have that outlet, and there's a lot of people that don't have that outlet, but I think for me, the reason why I ate it is because I had a respect for that food. Because I'd grown it. I'd known how long it took to... I know I'd chuck some seeds out and then it'd be like 6 months' time I'd get some onions, or 8 months' time I'd get some onions, and you think, oh God, Jesus Christ, look how long that's taken to grow. I must eat that, For me personally, I think, and I know it's not an outlet for everyone, but everyone can grow maybe something in a pot or something like that, and maybe it's not the answer to it, but I think, for me, I gain a lot of respect for food from actually growing it and seeing where it's come from and it being a reward for growing it.
Yeah. That's definitely one thing. If you put time and effort into something, you appreciate it more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I think so. There's a few things that's a really good question, actually. So from my experience, and I'll have to argue this with people. So the first one is there are certain eating plans, i.e. Slimming World or Weight Watchers, that will allow you to eat a banana, but if you mush that banana, all of a sudden it becomes something horrible. And my argument is, what the fuck do you think your teeth do?
Chew it.
They're blenders, people. Your teeth are manual blenders, that's it. And if someone ever tells you this bullshit that, well, chewing fruit makes you burn more calories. How many calories do you think it takes to eat a banana? How hard is it? Unless it's fucking underripe, it ain't taking you no effort, people, to eat a fucking banana.
No.
The thing is, and this is the biggest thing, that's what I'm trying to get to, people have demonised the sugar in fruit.
Yeah.
Because refined sugar in large quantities, and I stress large quantities, is bad. A small amount of refined sugar is not going to fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Unless you are diabetic and you have a very big hypersensitivity to it, in which case, of course, but then you should be managing it, so kind of a moot point. Fruit has sugar in it. It is not sugar. You cannot take an apple and equate it to sugar cubes. And I had this argument at my school, because they were showing what they would suggest parents put into lunch. But for the most part, it's fine. And I was playing devil's advocate because I was a bit more clued up.
Yeah.
But they're like, there are up to 6 spoonfuls, 6 cubes of sugar in an apple. I'm like, yeah, and fibre and nutrients and the fact that it has pectin in it that makes you feel fuller for longer. So actually, what I give my kids, if they're like, hey, can we have a bag of crisps? You can have an apple.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to eat something, eat a piece of fruit. So I think the trouble is as well, it's been demonised so badly that these highly palatable fruits are going to make you fucking chronically obese. But actually they won't, because, unless you're literally juicing them, then you're pretty golden. Because it takes, so for instance, I had this argument with my grandma as well. God love her, because she'd read, and I'm using her example because she'd seen it on the telly, which is where most people get their information from.
Yeah.
And it said, drinking smoothies is bad for you. And I went, how? Sure, because of all the sugar in it. And I went, well, did you add any extra sugar in? Well, no. What do you normally? So if you were going to make a smoothie right now, what would you put in it?
Oh, I personally love kiwis. Kiwis are like, kiwis. I'd probably put banana, probably put apple in it.
Yeah.
Raspberries, blueberries. What else would I put in it? Oh, that's a good question, Vince.
So, all right, we'll take that initial thing, right?
Yeah.
1 kiwi?
2 kiwis, mate.
2 kiwis. Okay, 2 kiwis. A whole banana?
Pretty much whole banana, yeah.
Pretty much
and
whole banana.
At the end, don't you just I'll cut it up. Actually, I'll eat that little
Whole
bit.
or half an apple?
We'll probably go for half an apple.
Half an apple?
Yeah.
And maybe a handful of raspberries and blueberries?
Yeah.
Just a handful, right? Yeah.
Handful,
now, if I were to serve that in a fruit bowl to you, would you eat that in one sitting?
Probably not, no. Probably not.
No?
I'd probably eat the kiwis.
No, but if I not if I gave you a fruit bowl that, but if I served it to you as if you ordered that and it came in a bowl.
Oh, no.
What I'm saying is you would do.
Yeah,
you could easily eat that much fruit in one go. Like if I make a smoothie and I put a banana, a banana, an apple, some strawberries, and I usually make mine with milk, but you take the milk away and stuff. So you put a bit of fruit, and you could eat that in one sitting. You could eat, if you were to sit there and think, I'm going to have some fruit for today in one go, you could easily eat that much. Where juicing skews things, to get enough juice from oranges to make a glass of juice, you'd need 5 or 6 oranges. You're not going to eat 5 or 6 large oranges in one sitting. And the trouble is, you're taking away the fibre, you're taking away the pulp and all the stuff that slows the digestion process down. So juicing, not so great. Smoothies are fine. But the trouble is, everyone buys into that. There's another one that came out that said there's the equivalent amount of sugar in a baked potato. I was like, shut the fuck up. It's a potato. It's a starch.
Yeah.
Which is not sucrose, which is half glucose, half fructose. It's starch, which converts to glucose through iodinization in the body and goes into the muscles. Like, yes, if you eat too much of anything, it's going to make you overweight. But, you know, if the option comes to have a chocolate bar or a piece of fruit, and you're scared the amount of sugar that's in fruit, I can tell you now it's probably less that's in the chocolate bar. But this is the biggest problem. There's so much conflating evidence, and everyone's trying to push you away from thinking about things rationally so they can sell their product which gives you the answer. They're the light in the dark, in the mystery that is weight loss. There is no mystery, it's a calorie deficit.
Keep it simple.
Dressed in whatever method you need to do to make you stick to it that fits with your lifestyle. You can eat 1 chocolate bar a day and still lose weight. You can eat 5 pieces of fruit a day and still lose weight. You could mix the two up and still lose weight as long as you are eating less than you are burning.
Yeah.
Now, there are better ways of fueling yourself. For instance, if you go to the petrol station, you can buy the standard level petrol, or you can buy the super version of the petrol, which has engine cleaning properties, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you're going to go for the basic option.
Yeah.
For money-wise. And that's when people buy basic food, because it's also, it's very easy to buy, I say lower end, it's not lower end essentially, but fresh fruit and vegetables perish quickly. So if you don't eat them when you intend to eat them, we all have that drawer at the bottom of the fridge that's just full of things growing and crawling out because you've not, or it's turned to like powder or mush because you haven't got into it quick enough. Things get in the way. Life is too hectic now.
And it can be expensive as well.
And it can be expensive as well.
It can be expensive.
Yeah, but actually most of my budget throughout the month goes on restocking on vegetables and stuff.
Yeah,
but I understand that I'm in a situation where I can potentially, and not everybody is, go shop like that.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, actually, it's like, right, I've got a small budget, mouths to feed, I need highly palatable, highly filling foods. As much as eating lots of vegetables is filling, it doesn't last very long.
No.
You can get full on lots of vegetables because they take up a lot of space, there's lots of fibre in them, but they're not calorie dense, so you don't get that. You know, that's why they're great for weight loss, because you can pile your plate full of veggies and it doesn't really matter. You can have a mountain. But if you are trying to find things that are quite calorie dense, the vegetables aren't your option. It's starches, it's more fatty stuff, and it's also usually highly salty, which gives you a better response. Because vegetables in the beginning, because they don't want to be eaten unless they bear fruits or seeds that want you to pass it through, you have to cook them to eat them. And if you're not used to eating them, they taste bitter and shit. And that's why a lot of people don't like it, especially if their parents weren't too fussed with introducing them to vegetables. And it always boils back to the parents, fucking Freudian method here. That's, I think, where the problem comes from, because there's so much going on. And there's so many different ways of doing things, and you have personal preferences. Food is the only thing you as a human being can control that goes in and out of your body. And it sounds like a very horrible and terrifying prospect, but it kind of is true, though. That is all there is. You can't control the quality of the air you breathe unless you move. That's not always an option, or you wear a mask. But the only thing you can control, what you put in and out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And you're always going to go for something that makes you feel the best. If you've got to eat food for fuel, you want to hope you would always probably go for something that tastes the best and gives you the most satisfaction, because that's the only thing you can control. So you don't want to eat something you don't enjoy.
No,
you can learn to enjoy it, but you have to again accept the fact that there's going to be a period of uncomfortable transition where you go thinking, God, this broccoli is bitter as shit.
Yeah.
So finding a way that you like to eat it, so it doesn't taste so bad, and then getting around and going, actually, no, my taste buds have adjusted, it's fine. And then you go and eat hyper salty food and you think, oh, that tastes like assholes. So
steaming your broccoli is the best. It tastes
I prefer roasting it.
Good.
A roasted broccoli is king for me.
Oh, really?
A bit of Caribbean jerk seasoning on there, mate. Woo!
I cooked my ones, obviously I grew some last year, and mate, it was so good. Like, just steam them slightly. They're still a little bit crunchy.
Yeah, I think as well, if you're not used to cooking vegetables as well, it's so easy to boil the fuck out. They taste, they taste awful. Oh, yeah, like, honestly, and having been on the receiving end of an overly boiled piece of broccoli that literally tasted of water, because there was nothing left of it, like, it is very easy, like, it takes a little bit of doing, but, a lot of people don't know how to cook or don't have time. That's the biggest thing.
That's the main thing, isn't it?
There's a really good documentary on Netflix. I say documentary, I hate the word documentary on Netflix. It's never fucking documentaries. A show on Netflix called In Defense of Food, and it does explain how over time we've spent less time in the kitchen, by up to half an hour less time in the kitchen, because convenience food takes over. We have to work more. One parent can't stay home and prepare food. We are very lucky in my house that I do all of that.
Yeah.
Because I can choose my rota and how I work.
Flexibility.
But yeah, the odds are kind of up against you. But like anything else, you can choose to persevere. But sometimes you need guidance from somebody who's honest. Well, actually sit down and rather than just saying you need to eat less and move more, you need to go on a diet. It's like, okay, well, let's figure out what one works for you. What are your triggers? Why did you get this wrong? How long have you been overweight for? Let's have this discussion.
Yeah.
Because that's how you figure out what works for people, how they're going to react, why they go off the rails, how long their time span usually takes before they get bored and stuff. And once you've done that, then you can be a bit abrupt with them because you've taken the time to understand them and you can say the things that you need to say. But if you say it from the off, it just shows a lack of understanding.
Yeah,
if you've taken the time to understand something and still say you need to pull your head out your ass and fucking get this shit done, they will then go, all right, because we've discussed everything else and okay, yes, I know I need to, but they're more inclined to get back to you then. So, yeah, it's like everything. Like we came to the conclusion last time, everything's fucked. But it isn't fucked. It's just, it's so hard to decide what it is. So I made this analogy today. A car is like a diet, right? In the sense of a car is an internal combustion engine that runs on petrol or diesel. And, you know, it has the transmission fluid, brake fluid, blah, blood vessels, everything else. That's all the body is. But like, if you think of essentially a car is just an engine in a box.
Yeah.
A diet is a calorie deficit in a box. So you know, a Ford KA is essentially the same as a Ferrari. A Ferrari just has different bits in it in a different shell.
Yeah. With more, yeah.
Like, or you could go Porsche VW camper van because a Porsche engine goes into a VW camper van.
Okay.
So that is the same principle, exactly. The exact same engine can go in two different shells. Fast car, camper van. Diet, in principle, is the engine. A calorie deficit, and you can package it in keto, which essentially is the VW camper van. Slow, steady burning energy, very good for people who don't like energy fluctuations or are diabetic and find it hard to regulate blood sugar. Intermittent fasting. Drag racer.
Yeah,
Lots of calories, nothing. High carb, low fat. Sports car. Lots of high energy that gives you energy all the time, but there's no fat to sustain it, so you have to keep eating the carbs in, but you burn it off as quick as you put it in.
Yeah.
The thing is, they all come under the same principle that is, you still have to be in a calorie deficit. But if you prefer to drive a VW camper van, like me, because that is my dream car, then do the keto thing. If you'd like to drive drag races and like get everything in a small window and then do nothing for a bit, try intermittent fasting. If you like to drive fast and feel like you've got lots of energy whilst in a deficit, do the high carb one.
Yeah.
You can choose whatever you want. None of them are right or wrong, but you might have to try a few before you realise the one you didn't think you'd like is actually the one that works the best.
Yeah.
And that is where I think a lot of, and you have to do a bit of research and trial and error and stuff. And this is the trouble as well, because if you're unhappy with how you look and you want it done now, then you're not going to be as willing to try, or the trouble is you have tried every single one of them, but you didn't understand the principle behind it because it was kept from you.
Yeah.
And it didn't work because you weren't in the deficit, not because you were lying and you were doing it wrong, but the number that you were given was either too low that you couldn't sustain it, or it wasn't a deficit in the first place, so you didn't lose the weight, and then you yo-yo back up.
Yeah.
So you're anti-diet and you think they're all fucking shit. And you're not wrong, because in your experience they have been all fucking shit, but because the reason is because you were withheld the information that would have made the journey easier, and now you find it hard because you just are very nihilistic about the whole thing and don't want to do it. So if we can give you anything from these podcasts, it's like, look, it's ideas, it's principles, and it is permission to fail, permission to question, and permission to adjust.
Yeah.
Because you have all of these things. You have permission to fail because you're not going to get it right first time. You're not going to get it right the 10th time. It might take the 30th time, but you will get it right, because as long as you learn from each mistake, you can figure out what went right and wrong the last time. You have permission to question, why am I on this diet? Why does this diet work? Because they should tell you it's because you're in a calorie deficit, but we've packaged it like this because we find it works with energy regulation. Perfect, great, I understand. And if you are on the diet the plan and it's not working, or it's sort of working but it needs to be better, adjust it. Because the principle is always the same. You always needs to be in a deficit, so you adjust it till you are. So if you're in a keto diet and your energy levels are pretty good but you're not losing weight, you need to bring the calories down. That's it. If you're on an 16-8 intermittent fasting diet and you're not losing weight, you need to bring the calories down a little bit. If you're on the high carb, low fat diet and you're not losing weight, you need to bring the calories down a little bit. The principle still works, the method still works for you, but the principle is always the same. So be empowered to do this, okay? Be empowered to change, question and fail. And hopefully when we get more feedback from these things, we can get people saying, you know what, I took that on board and it really helped because I just felt not trapped by this principle and this judgment that comes with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the main thing. You know, some people do look for our guidance because they are lost, you know, and I think what we need to, or what we try and do, is give them the best map to get them there, you know. Everyone's different. You've got to work off of what's best for you. You know, I know obviously we said that already, but I think we do need to work off of what's best for you, and if something doesn't work, then we need to change it up and make sure that it does work for you, because otherwise you will be stuck in that pattern of just feeling not good about yourself. And you know, we're not here to waste your time. We're here to help you, assist you and get you to where you want to be. 100%.
Yes. Right, we are about to run out of recording time, but I apologise for it being the Vince show today, because I have gone off a little bit.
That's okay, no problem.
It'll be Will's turn next time. We'll talk about running, because I'm going to shut the fuck up about that. I ain't no runner, I don't like it, and as much as he's tried, I don't think it's going to be for me. But
you don't like the idea of running?
No,
I'm joking.
That's going to be such a good. Our next podcast is the idea of running. No, I don't like it. Yeah, so just to wrap up, if you have questions, if you have feedback, if you are here in the gym, come find us. I've had a few people come up and talk to me and say they really enjoyed it and they watched it, listened to it a couple of times because they took lots from it, which is amazing. Thank you so much for that. And if you want to question us, please question us, because then we can at least elaborate and build on things so you have a better understanding. Yeah, some questions for next week would be great. Obviously, just drop it into us. Come find us.
Absolutely. Come find us. Come give us.
How do we find you on social media? What are your tags?
Mapley _ the Run Coach. Come follow me on Instagram, and hopefully on Facebook. I'll change it tonight, so hopefully you will be able to find me.
Cool. And for me, VS Complete Fitness on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. I will put videos up discussing some of the topics and helping expand. Thank you so much, guys. We love you lots, and we'll speak to you soon.
Peace. Bye-bye.